Hello friends, welcome back to another Patriotic Tumbler tutorial. In this video, we're going to make a bit of an unconventional design. We're going to do a pink Statue of Liberty, really fun type design here. So I'm starting out with my mug from the Tipsy Magnolia, and I'm going to base paint this with my favorite pink acrylic paint. This is the Delta Creative Ceramcoat brand of paint, and as always, I'm using entirely too much. You never have to use as much paint as I use. My toxic trait is just that I use entirely too much paint for whatever I'm working on. So I'm just going to take this paint and cover my entire tumbler with a nice hefty coat, make sure I've got really full coverage, and then I'm going to let this sit and fully dry for probably about 30 to 45 minutes. To apply my glitter, I'm going to use the epoxy method today. So I'm going to take a little tiny bit of my Flynn Supply Shop Fast Cure epoxy, and I'm going to spread that all over my tumbler. The one area that I am avoiding is the bottom cap portion on the very bottom of the tumbler. I forgot to remove that at the very beginning. So I'm going to put the epoxy on, and then I was like, shoot, I forgot to remove the bottom little portion for my glitter booty. So I went and removed that really quick, and then I'm going to apply my glitter. What I would recommend though is that you remove that bottom cap first so that you don't have to deal with it when you've got wet epoxy on your tumbler like I had to. The glitter we're going to use today, of course, is Barbie. This is the custom mix that I created with Peachy Olive Glitters last year. It's my absolute favorite pink of all time. No bias at all. What I'm going to do is cover the entire tumbler with this glitter. And if you wanted to, you can use a finer cut of glitter on your handle, but Barbie is a fine enough cut for me that I feel confident getting everything really nice and smooth. And the reason I'm using the epoxy method is so that the glitter can kind of seep into the epoxy a little bit, and that will help everything be really flat and smooth when we go over to epoxy it. So once the glitter layer was dry, I let that sit about 2 hours, and after it was dry, I epoxied over it with 2 coats of the Flynn Supply Shop Fast Cure epoxy. Each of those coats was about 15 to 20 milliliters. That amount, of course, will depend on the size of the tumbler that you're using. I'm using a really small cup here, so I'm going to need less epoxy for each of my coats. After the second coat of the epoxy was cured, I went in and did a full round of sanding. I sanded down the tumbler the best I could to get it as smooth as possible. The next thing we're going to do is add all of our fun foil and vinyl elements, so I want to ensure that my cup is as smooth as possible before I move on to any of those steps. We're going to start by applying our foils to our tumbler as our first little design element. So to do that, I'm going to use my foil adhesive from Southern Belle Glitter, and I'm going to brush this on my entire tumbler, and then I'm actually going to let it just sit overnight. You do want to let it sit for at least an hour, or hit it with your heat gun to make sure that it's dry and tacky before you try to put any foils on. If you brush this on while it's and then leave it wet and then try to put foils on it, the foils won't stick and release from their little carrier sheet. So you want to brush this on and then either dry it with your heat gun really fast or just let it sit at least an hour, but you can let it sit a day or two even if you set it and forget it like I do. So like I said, I'm going to brush this all over the cup, and then the next day I'll come back and apply my foils. So starting out with our first 2 foils here, I'm going to use Raceway, which is from Southern Belle Glitter, and then I'm also going to use this rose gold pinky holographic foil, and that one is from Artistic Painting Studio. I'm also going to use To Infinity. That's also from Southern Belle Glitter. Now, To Infinity, I didn't use a ton of. I just kind of touched it in a few places, and you guys will see that here, of course, in a minute. The main stars, though, are this really pretty holographic pink, and then, of course, Raceway, which is one of my favorite foils, because you guys know I love a checkerboard. So I'm going to start out with the holographic pink, and I'm going to cut it into these small little squares and then just place it kind of randomly all over the tumbler. Now the decal I'm going to use is a pink and greenish color, so I wanted to add a little bit of darker dimension into the pink to make sure that we can see the decal once we put it on the tumbler. So we've got our light pink glitter, and then we'll put this darker holographic pink foil over it, and that's going to help the decal just kind of pop off of the background a little bit more. Now, of course, if you want to, you can use any colors of foil that you want. I just tried to pick things that would go with this fun, of course, pink theme that I'm going for. So I'm going to just continue putting as much of this pink foil on the tumbler as I feel is necessary, or just until I think it looks good. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing with our checkerboard foil. Okay, so once we've got all of our foils on, we can move on to our next element. So I cut out some just basic star shapes on my silhouette, and this vinyl that I'm using is actually a glow-in-the-dark vinyl. This is from Tech Wrap Craft. I think it's called glow-in-the-dark aqua, but I will find it and link it for you. So this cup will have a little bit of a glow-in-the-dark element, which was not in my plan. I don't even really care that it glows in the dark, but this mint tone matched the Statue of Liberty graphic that we're going to use for our decal so perfectly, so I had to use this vinyl just like obviously out of necessity. So I cut out my stars in 2 different sizes, and I'm just going to place them kind of randomly scattered around the tumbler. Now I'm also using these a little bit strategically. I'm going to place them especially over any areas where my foil might look a little wonky. We had a few areas on the tumbler when I put the foil on that just didn't look super great or clean, so I'm going to cover those areas up with my star decals, and nobody will ever know except for all of you because you're watching this video. Now that my star elements are placed down on the tumbler, we can add our decal. So I'm going to be using this UVDTF decal from the Vinyl Cottage. When I saw this decal on the website, I was so excited because I just think it's so cute and fun and a nice different take on like a patriotic design. So what I'm going to do first is remove that clear backing sheet, and then I'm going to place the decal down on my tumbler exactly where I want it. Now just keep in mind, with a UVDTF decal, you cannot place it down and then pick it up and reposition it, because that will transfer like right away. So make sure when you place your decal down, it's exactly where you want it to be, because once it's there, it's going to be there. So once I've got it down, I'm going to rub down really well to make sure that it is completely transferred to my tumbler, and then I'm going to very carefully remove that top carrier sheet, going really slow just to make sure we don't miss any pieces and nothing tears or anything like that. Next, we're going to do our glitter booty. Now I'm going to keep this really simple, just with one solid glitter color. I'm going to use 10, 12, 13 from Peachy Olive Glitters, because again, it's that same kind of like minty green tone that we have now in our stars, as well as in our decal. It's like the perfect Statue of Liberty color. So I'm just going to use my UV resin, mix that in with my glitter, and then I'll fill in this bottom well of our tumbler, and then we'll have a glitter booty. let that cure under my UV lamp for maybe about 5 minutes, and then I was ready to add some epoxy to my tumbler. So remember, from when we added our first 2 coats of epoxy to this point, we didn't do anything in between. So I did my first 2 coats of epoxy, sanded, and then did all of those design elements, and now we're finally going in for another coat of epoxy. So this is technically just coat number 3. So I'm starting out with my just plain regular epoxy here. I'm using the Flynn Sisters Supply Shop Fast Cure, and I'm gonna do maybe about 10 milliliters on my tumbler. We don't need a super thick, hefty coat right here, and we want to also keep this kind of thin because we're going to take some glitter, mix that in with some extra epoxy, and add a little bit of extra sparkle to this tumbler. So we don't want to have a ton of epoxy on the cup when we do that, because I don't really want that extra glitter that we're going to add in just a minute to be moving all around the tumbler like crazy. The glitter we're going to use for this technique is Basic White Girl, also from Peachy Olive Glitters. So I took about 5 milliliters of my leftover epoxy and mixed in just a sprinkle of that glitter. And now I'm just going to put it kind of wherever I feel is gonna look really good. I pretty much ended up putting this all over the tumbler because I love that extra glitter touch, as you all know, and I just thought it would bring a lot of dimension to the cup. It would bring a little bit of extra zest to those vinyl stars that we put on the tumbler, and just add a little bit of extra something. But as always, if you don't want to do this step, you absolutely don't have to. You can just add your final coats of epoxy and be done, but I like the extra glitter, so I'm doing it. So once I've put this on, I'm going to let this cup spin and dry for maybe like 4 to 6 hours, and then I'll be ready to do any final sanding that I need to do, and then add my last coat. For my final coat, I always use the Flynn Sisters Supply Shop Artist Cure Epoxy because it has that extra layer of UV protection to prevent yellowing over time. But once that's cured, we will be all done. So here is the final result. I love how this turned out so much. I love this decal, and I really like the pink 4th of July. I don't know, we do pink Christmas, so why not do pink 4th of July, right? Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up down below. Let me know, as always, your thoughts in the comments. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, be sure you hit that subscribe button too so you don't miss any of my new videos. We've got 1 video left in our Patriotic series, so be sure to come back for that. I really hope you've enjoyed this series so far, and I will see you again soon for the finale. All right, love you. See you later. Bye. Hello friends, thanks so much for watching this video. I want to say a huge special thank you to my elite fam, my channel members, and my subscribers. You all make this channel possible, so thank you so much for being part of the fam. If you want more exclusive content from me, you can join my elite fam at patreon.com/elitefam. You can find my tumblers and digital files on my website madebymalstudio.com. And if you'd like to follow me on social media, you can find me on Instagram at madebymal_studio. Here's another video for you to check out, and I'll see you soon. Thanks so much for watching. Love you. Bye.